Hello and welcome. This is the overview video for my Notion template, the Getting Started Starter Pack. If you found this video, one of a few things has happened. Either you've came across the Notion template and you're watching this video to try and get a bit of a better understanding of what's in the template and how to use it. Otherwise, you found the video on YouTube and you're wondering what the hell this template is. So as a bit of a background on what the template is, it's the Getting Started Starter Pack, as I'm calling it. It's a template of templates, many of which I've created from scratch, otherwise taken Notion ones and modified them so that they better fit the aim of the template. The aim of the template is simply to help you or myself get started on ideas we've had for a while and not been acting upon, or to better yourself as an individual. So as a bit of a background to myself, I'm a naturally creative person. I always have been. I've always had loads of ideas, side hustle ideas, business ideas, and I've never really acted upon them. I'm quite bad at procrastinating, and I always find that I create this long list of to-do list items, or I've got 101 ideas, and because I've got so many, I never actually do anything with them. So I just procrastinate, or life gets in the way, and I use the excuses of that to just never work on the stuff that I want to work upon. So one day I got a bit fed up and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to list all of my ideas in one single place, and then anytime I've got an hour free, I'm going to open that list and I'm going to click one and I'm going to just do a bit of work on it. And, small steps every day lead to sort of great outcomes. And so that was the thinking behind it, is that if I just work on the ideas I've got day by day, eventually something's going to stick or something's going to grow into something great. And at least then I can be quite happy that I've done something with those ideas and I've not just let them sit in the bin for eternity and then got to a place in life where I'm full of regret and I've not tried any of the stuff I want to do in life. So that's the sort of long-winded sob story. And then from there, I kind of had the idea that, rather than just simply a list of ideas, I kind of want to better myself as an individual. I want to create a routine, do a bit of habit tracking, and, keep on top of all the day-to-day stuff that crops up in life, so that I'm not just, getting stressed out about the ideas I've got, but also ticking off those day-to-day chores. And then I figured, if I'm in this boat, there's probably other people in that boat too. And in conjunction with this, I also started the 8% Club with a friend of mine, where we keep each other accountable on a monthly basis, in a similar vein to this template, where we sort of speak to each other about the ideas we've got and then give each other advice and tick off things. Again, with the intention that if we work on things gradually, we use the free time we do have to work on ideas, eventually we're going to get to a place that we want to be and build some great things. So that's the long-winded ramble about what this template is and why I created it. So let's jump in and I can give a bit of an overview as to what's included and how to use it. Okay, so if you open the template, this is what you'll see as a starting point, I guess. It is Notion, so you can use it on desktop, iPad, mobile, whatever you wish, and it should, all going well, size itself quite nicely, depending on the platform you're using. So if you're downloading this Notion template, I am going to make an assumption that you're quite familiar with Notion. And so the first thing I really want to make clear about this is that you should just edit it and make it look and feel how you want it to. There's a lot of stuff in here that I hope you'll find helpful, but equally the best thing about Notion is how customizable it is. And so I do urge that you whiz through it and you change the colors, the cover pages, the titles, and remove all the fluff so that it really feels like something you want to use on a daily basis. For myself, it's not called the Getting Started Starter Pack. I've got my own name and my own ideas in it, but this is how it's going to look for you. So please do jump in and edit it. So essentially, this is your homepage, a nice quote at the top there from Sean Heck. Anything you see in this template, like this sort of grey page here, you can delete. And then when you get to the home page here, it's broken down into two sections, technically three. So the first one is my ideas and myself. Obviously you can shut these down if you wish, and then when you come in on a daily basis, you can expand the one that you want to use. So if we go with ideas first, let's expand that again. You can see it's also split into two categories. So we've got productivity and resources. That's kind of generic names I chose for each column there. Again, edit at your will, because some of this is stuff I will use and some stuff that I thought would be nice to put in here for others. So if we go through productivity first, you've got four categories here. You've got your idea space, idea template, idea matrix, and the idea machine. So bear with me, that's just something fun and silly. So if we look at the idea space, first of all, this is really quite basic and made in a way to just track the ideas you've got and the stage that they might be at. So something that's worth saying here is that this template is made as a means of making small steps on your ideas to grow them into something big over time. So this is not, I have a business idea and I'm going to put everything in here that's going to let me operate that business in a way that's going to make it successful. If your idea gets to that stage, I do recommend looking at other templates out there or creating something new to run your business. This is purely a means of saying, I have an idea, this might be how it looks, this might be, worth adding here so that I can keep track of it down the line, because I'm going to work on this for the next 2 weeks and then I'm probably going to forget about it and work on something else for the 4 weeks after that or something like that. So quite self-explanatory, but you've got just an idea, working on it, it's happening, and then archived ideas. So archived ideas would be ideas you've kind of said, you know what, I took a stab at it, it didn't work, and I've put them down here so that in 5 years' time, you might come back to it, who knows. But as a starting point, the idea template is really where you're going to go. So it's got listed here, and then there's also a shortcut which takes you to the one here on the home page. So let's look at the idea template. Okay, so as I say, the idea template, and again, anything red here, feel free to rip out and edit as you wish. So this is my vision of a bit of a brain dump for an idea, and a bit of a starting point for an idea so that you can slowly over time build it up into something great. So this is sort of a landing page for an idea. Obviously you would give it your name. I always think if you've got an idea, it's always going to be good to think about what you want that idea to be and how, or what your vision is for that idea in terms of how it would be ran. Say for example it was a business idea, how would you like it to be ran? And these things can always change over time, but I think it's good as a starting point to say, why do I really want to carry this idea out? What's the purpose behind it? So I think if you start with something like that, it really gives you a bit of a driver behind it. And then equally, something that I always find is really fun and like doing is sort of sketching logos and ideas for logos as to, again, I'm going to keep using business idea here, but as a brand for that idea. And so I always think it's probably good, even if it is just a sketch, just add an image here. Say, this is my brand name, put it there, and then it's almost like a snapshot of this is where it really started as well. And over time, obviously, you can update it and edit it. So under your mission statement and your values and your image, you've got a bit of some more categories here. So you've got your core project and planning, your ideas, marketing and research, and then your content. So again, these are kind of high level, but things that I think would be good for a business idea or whatever else it might be to start looking at over time, because maybe that spare hour that you have in a day is while you're on a train to work, or you're going to a client meeting somewhere or meeting a friend for lunch. You've just got an hour and you want to quickly do something. So what can you do? Well, you could start chipping away at an actual business plan. So if you click in here, you can see there's a whole description on how to build a business plan, and then all the sections that really you probably want to fill out so that you can create a proper business plan, because who knows, maybe this will be the next big thing and you'll want to look for investment. Then there's the to-do list. So even that, you're on a train somewhere and you're thinking, right, what do I actually need to do to take this idea to the next step? Well, do you know what? I need to do X, Y, Z, and I want to do this today, this week, this month, this year. Being flexible with timescales, just a good place to keep track of what you want to do. All right. And then contacts, just kind of self-explanatory, but I did think this was worth adding in. One thing I always think about with ideas is, I have an idea and straight away I jump to the end and I think, oh my God, this could be an amazing idea. I really want to work on it. I'm going to need to create a logo. I'm going to need to learn how to code websites. I'm going to need to learn how to develop an app. Realistically, that's a lot to take on as one person, and it's certainly not where all my skills and strengths are as an individual. So, you might have somebody to mind who, I know such and such who is an app developer. I'm going to put their details in here. Or, I don't know, maybe you're out with friends having a few drinks and you're talking to someone at the bar and they tell you they're a graphic designer. Well, you know what? Take their details, say, by the way, I've got an idea. Take their details, put it in here so that you don't forget it. And then who knows, maybe one day you'll reach out to actually build some substance around your idea. Okay. Accounts and services. So what I've put in here is just a little category for links to websites, as well as usernames, emails for any accounts and services that you may create in conjunction with your idea. So for example, maybe you create an Instagram for your idea, or you're using Canva to build marketing emails or something like that. Put it in here just so that you've got a note of where they all are and what your usernames are. I have put a record here, and I do strongly recommend that you use a password manager or something secure to store passwords. There's no password column here for obvious reasons. If you want to add one, so be it, but I do not recommend that. And then moving on with your ideas, available grants, loans, funding. So again, maybe this is a side hustle opportunity. Maybe it's something that you really need to go out and seek investment for. But again, let's use that idea. You've got an hour, you're commuting to work, you want to spend some time working on one of your ideas. We'll have a look online. Let's see, can I get funding for this idea? Who do I need to speak to for investment? How much money do I need to do it? All of that sort of stuff. Again, it's just a place to put that information and keep track of it based on what your idea is. And bear in mind, in an ideal scenario, you're going to have listed, say, 5, 10, 15 different ideas, and you might be working on any one of those at any given time. So again, it's really just about saying, I can spend a bit of time on that idea, and I can always go back to it when I want, or keep this sort of ball rolling on a specific idea, and everything's tracked in one place, so that when you get to that point that the idea is maybe growing into something special, it's all there and you can sort of move all the information you need. That's really the purpose behind this template. Research, suppliers, competitors, location. Again, maybe you're starting a clothing brand. Well, what are the clothing brands that you're going to be competing against? Who are you going to need to reach out to source fabrics or manufacture clothing? All that sort of stuff. This is what this place is for. Just keeping a track of where they are, how to access them. And again, if it's research, what type of research is it? Well, Who knows, maybe you found an influencer who would be great for your idea. Use them. Keep note of their details in here. Excuse me. Marketing ideas. One thing I always find that I do is whenever I have an idea, my brain starts going into overdrive and I start saying, well, do you know, I could do this as a way to market that idea. Again, massively jumping the gun when I have an idea. But again, this is really just somewhere you can sort of keep track, you know, what is your idea? What's the driver between it? You know, how could you market it? Who would you need? Would it cost anything? It's really just that sort of thing. And then last but not least, almost, is brand assets. So again, I said about the sketching as a starting point, but you know, when you start to build that idea, maybe you will have a logo, maybe you'll find a font that you want to use, maybe you'll start creating marketing images. It's really just a place to store all that information. If you have the paid version of Notion, you can upload files as well. So remember, anything you create for an idea, you can put it all up here and you don't need to pay for file storage somewhere else. And then calendar, we'll sort of touch upon when we get to the personal section. So I'm going to leave that for now, but just as an FYI, there is also a calendar here with the intention that this calendar would be idea specific. All right. So back to my ideas section. The next thing on the list is the idea matrix, and this is something that I am quite proud of in terms of having built this in Notion. Because this is part of a Notion template, it's been very difficult to build something like this without the use of third-party tools. And the reason I've had to do that is because if somebody is taking this template and using it, none of that third-party stuff is going to carry over for them. And so I've had to make sure that I make this in a way that's possible, that anybody can use it. So what is the idea matrix? Well, as you can see, it's a whole page of buttons. And what the matrix is essentially a place to go with your idea, maybe before putting information into the idea templates and assessing how feasible that idea is going to be. So it's really a case of saying, well, what is this idea? Because, you know, an idea doesn't need to be a business idea. It might just be a creative idea or a hobby. And so, you know, it's worth really assessing the reason why you want to carry out an idea. You know, is it for personal development? Is it because you want to change career path? Is it for business goal reasons or whatever else? You know, do you want to make money from it? Is it just going to make you happy to do it? All of that sort of stuff. And then weighing up, well, I have 3 ideas. One of them's going to take 1 month to build from start to finish. It's not going to cost money. It's going to make me happy. It's going to teach me things, and I'm already an expert in that field. So why would I not work on that idea? On the flip side, you have another idea that is not in your skill set. It's potentially going to take a year to develop. You're going to need 3 other people. You're going to need investment. And obviously an idea like that is quite difficult, not unachievable, but difficult. And so really, if you're sitting with multiple ideas, it's nice to sort of map them out a little bit and say, well, do you know what? This one here is a quick win. It's going to make me feel good. I should start with that one, and then I can start chipping away at the other one. And so that's really what this matrix is about. It's about assessing your ideas, and what it also does is gives you a score to say, oh yeah, that's a bit easier. So I'm going to work on that one first. I'm going to put this one on the back burner, and then I'm going to leave that one for next year, something like that. So as you can see, there's a heading with a question. What type of idea is it? And then you have options for each question that is there. What I would say is please just look at the guidance here. For some of them, you can only pick one. For some of them, you can do multiple options. So, for example, this one is you can say I'm doing it for learning purposes and because it's going to make me happy. Happiness gets bonus points because if it's going to make you happy, is there really reason not to do it? An argument there that I'm not going to cover in this video. So basically, if we run through this as a bit of an example, let's say we have a side hustle. I want to work on this side hustle for some quick money. It's not going to cost me anything to start it up. I've got a good level of knowledge. It doesn't actually need any knowledge. I can do it by myself. I can build this in 3 months. And the return potential is good returns. It's going to make some good money. Okay, so you've ran through the matrix of your idea. What happens next? Well, what I've created, and this is a bit MacGyver, a bit slapdash in terms of an output, but again, as a reminder, I had to do this without third-party tools and use what was within Notion to the best of my abilities. So basically, all those buttons have filled out a database that gives each selection a score. And basically, you want a lower score. A low score means easy, and a high score means more difficult. Again, nothing is unachievable, but it's really about assessing where your idea's landing in a bunch of ideas. So if we look at this, you can see this little thing here has actually updated now. So it knows it's a side hustle. It knows we're doing this to make some quick money. And based on the things that you've selected, you've got a score of 8. So it does say here, it seems like there may be a few things to work on or consider, but get your ducks in a row and it should be viable. So it seems like a good idea to go with this idea. If we hit this reset database button, you'll see all that disappears and we're back to 0. So basically hitting this wipes out all the selections you've done in the database. So now you can look at it and say, okay, so what's my next idea? Well, it's a business idea. It's long-term income. It's going to require an investment. I have no knowledge. I'm going to click that again because I don't know if it did. What sort of knowledge is needed? Well, actually, a lot of knowledge on the idea is needed, and I don't have it. It's going to need some resource because I just don't have the knowledge. It's going to take 6 to 12 months. Returns low. And yeah, let's see what it says now. So as you can see now, the score is 22, which is much, much higher. And the output here has changed. So it's going to take a lot to make it happen. If you've got anything that's maybe a quick win in terms of an idea, maybe you should look at that first. Okay, so hopefully that explains what the matrix is and why. Again, just as an emphasis, please feel free to edit this template as you wish. These are really things that I thought of would help me assess an idea, and so maybe you want to change what it is. So I'm going to reset this again for now. And just as a quick FYI, I'm not going to amend it just now, but all of this basically runs on a database, which is here. So if you delete this, it will not work. Equally, if you go in here, this is what makes the whole thing work. And so if you're going to edit what those options are, here's where you come to do it. So for example, you've got an idea type, and this is the predefined ones. Obviously, you can create your own ones. And then you also have formulas here, which are what calculate the scores and provide the outputs based on what the scores are. So please have a play around with it and try and make it into something that you'll use. Okay, so the last thing under productivity is the idea machine. So my understanding as an FYI is that because I use paid Notion, I can use some of the AI functionality, albeit limited because I don't pay for a separate AI plan. Now, because it's in a template, anybody, whether you're a paid user or not, should be able to use these. So anyway, what this is just a bit of a fun thing I tossed in to use AI to help you with your your ideas. So again, maybe you only have an hour in the day to mess with an idea and you've got a name for it and a rough idea, but you don't know what logo to make, or maybe you haven't thought of an actual brand name yet, or you're thinking about how could I better market this idea. So basically it's broken down into categories, and then I've sort of pre-populated some questions where you can just hit generate and AI will give you some suggestions. So let's use the brand name as an example. So can you provide me with some extremely obscure brand name ideas for my Notion template business that focuses on productivity? And of course, I recommend that you change these questions, and then obviously you can generate stuff that's specific to your ideas. So if we click this, what you'll see is after a while, boom, we have some AI generated brand names for a Notion business. So as I say, it's just a bit of a daft idea that I thought I would include in this. I'm not sure how often I'll use this myself, and if you're not going to use it, just rip out the template. There's no need for it. Okay, so the last part of the My Ideas section is resources. And so to be honest, I've done a lot of stating the obvious already, and this is a bit more of that, but I figured, you know what, I'm making this template to try and make that first step as easy as possible for everybody else to get started on working on their ideas. You know, I've spent weeks getting myself to this stage and getting this template ready so that I can use it, and then came the idea to share it with others. So I thought, well, why not go the extra step? I'll do a bit of Googling as well to see what startup support there is, what services can be used to launch some platforms, and you know, what tools would be useful for getting ideas started or thinking about businesses in a better way. Just a bit of time spent Googling some of that stuff so that you don't have to, essentially. So again, this may or may not be something that people use. If you don't, feel free to rip it out and add your own category or amend what's there. But at a very high level, it does what it says on the tin. So if you look at startup support, and I should also emphasize that I am from the United Kingdom, and everything that's included in here is based on UK sort of provided solutions and advice. So as an example, using startup support, you've got a whole host of stuff here like the Prince's Trust, Startup Loans Company, Business Gateway, who are a great free service in the UK, Scotland specifically actually, for getting advice on starting a business and what's maybe needed, or getting a bit of direction on business plans and all that sort of stuff. So as I say, it's a bit of Google foo on my part. It's really just all here to try and give you a one-click or two-click step to getting a bit of added support for your ideas. And that goes the same for the launch platforms. So, you know, you can launch ideas nowadays using, you know, a website on Shopify. You can use Bubble for cloud-based apps. You can use Kickstarter to get crowdfunding. You know, all stating the obvious here, but again, just doing it so that you don't have to. And then how-to learning and tools. You know, got a link to Canva, which is a great tool nowadays for doing some basic design work. Wix for creating websites. You know, some guides from Shopify themselves. How do I start a dropshipping business? ChatGPT is really good nowadays for creating documentation. All that sort of stuff. Again, really did it so that you don't have to, but you know, if your idea is quite specific, you might just want to go out and do your own research, which I would strongly recommend anyway. Alright, so that's the My Ideas section, and hopefully you're not bored yet. Let's look at the Myself. Okay, so here I have split these into focus and well-being. Focus being my idea of how do I keep track on what I'm doing on a weekly basis and or more, and what am I going to try and do as part of my weekly routine, what sort of habits do I want to grow, and then really just keeping track day to day, you know, even birthdays and stuff like that with the use of a calendar. So let's start there. So personal calendar is really what it says on the tin. It's a calendar for noting events that are upcoming in the future. One thing I would highlight here is what it sort of says here, is that this is best used with Notion Calendar, and I do wholeheartedly agree with that. So I use Notion Calendar as my personal calendar. That's a calendar service that integrates with Google accounts and links quite well to Notion. So if you use Notion Calendar, you can both see what's in your Google Calendar as well as add in calendars from Notion, whether that's a single page or multiple pages, which, going back to the ideas section, is why I've included a calendar there. So if you link this to your Notion calendar, you can actually have, your personal calendar as well as your idea calendars all in one place, so that you can say, oh hey, I was going to do this for that idea on this upcoming date, so I actually can't spend that weekend, going to the beach or whatever else comes up. So again, calendars are self-explanatory, but I do recommend you use Notion Calendar and you integrate it here, just as it works really well with notifications and stuff like that. Okay, so the next thing is weekly routine and habits. So let's click in here and see. And I keep emphasizing it, but I do also just again want to reiterate that this is pre-populated with a rough guide on my own routine, to be honest, as well as habits that I want to do, such as drink more water, but listed in a totally vague way, so that hopefully for anyone looking at this template or thinking about using it, it's very easy to edit and adapt to their own routines. So it's quite vague just now, and to be honest, my own version of this is slightly altered as well, but again, I just want to make it very easy to read and edit. So we'll use Monday as an example here. You can see it goes from start of the day, rise and shine, morning coffee between 6 and 6:30, on to walk the dog at 6:30 to 7 a.m. And then it ends with journaling and going to bed at 10 to 10:30. So that's just a rough day. Obviously there's multiple things in here, but one of the things you'll notice is that there's a tag here, either routine or habit. So the intention behind this is anything created should be tagged as part of your daily routine or as a habit. So while there's a bit of crossover there, they are different things. A routine is just a daily schedule almost that you're trying to stick to. A habit is something, I feel, that you're maybe not doing but you want to do more regularly. So you're making it as a dedicated action in a day to try and, do more of that until it becomes a habit. So, habits in my eyes may become routine at some point, but it's a habit there to make sure that you're tracking that and you're bettering yourself in specific areas. So while you can tag things as routine and habits, you can also mark them off as completed. So on the back of that, I have also built into this a habit tracker. And don't get me wrong, it is a bit basic compared to some habit trackers, but I really wanted to make sure it combined well with the routine part of this as well. So if you tick this column here, or this heading, sorry, you'll see weekly habit progress. So based on the routine that I've built and the habits included, i.e., working out, drinking more water, and stuff like that, you can see that there are 51 habits in total there, none of which are completed. So how do we complete them? Well, as you're looking at Notion on your phone each week to say, how's my routine looking today? Because, my Sunday is much different to my Monday. How am I looking at that? Have I drunk water this morning? Yep, I have. Have I worked out? Yep, I have. I can tick these. You can tick routines as well, but only habits are tracked. But basically, if we just tick a few more habits here, we're drinking a lot of water, we do that. If you tick your progress, you can actually see now, I've completed 6 of my 51 habits. So, by when you get to a Friday, you can actually look at this and say, oh, how well have I done with my habits this week? Oh, okay, I've actually only done half or that. And it's just really a means of saying, right, come on, next week I'm going to be a bit better. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the routine and habits. Again, I just recommend that you come through here and you edit this to suit your lifestyle and what you want to achieve from a routine and or habits at the same time. As I say, no habits are tracked. Only habits are tracked, sorry. No routines are. You could add a tracker for routine as well. I just figured it's more habits that I want to know about, so I figured that was best. And then if we go back to the template homepage, you can actually see we've got a button here, reset habits. This button had to exist somewhere and it can't exist in the database, annoyingly, so I've had to put it here. If we tick this, basically say you get to Sunday night and you think, right, next week is a new week, I really want to nail these habits. You hit this button and what you'll see is all of the tick boxes become unchecked and you're back to square one where nothing has been completed. So that's why that button's there. Okie dokie. So, quite self-explanatory in terms of a to-do list, just with a few more bells and whistles. So if, for example, you come in here and you hit new, this creates a standard task as I've defined it. You'll see there's a bit of automation there that tracks it as an open task. You can set a date and obviously give it a name. And then if you open this, you can see there's just a bit of time here, space here to provide detail on the task as well as subtasks. So obviously you can do this for fresh tasks that you want to do today, tasks for this week, this month, this year, and it's all just a means of tracking stuff that you've got in your mind that you really want to get done. There is some additional automation here as well, so that when you hit complete, if we give this a little second, your task should disappear, and then you'll see here it jumps to completed tasks and the tracking is set to closed. So the reason for this is just so that you can mark off stuff on your to-do list, but it does also mean if you wanted to, you could track all of your closed tasks, but again, you can just click here and see them all anyway. Additionally, if we just say standard task 1, and that's due 24th, standard task 2, and that's due the 26th, and then standard task 3 due on the 30th, and we keep them there. I have also included an additional couple of views, so a list view just so that you can see all tasks like this, and it also contains here your progress on it, so you can change it to in progress if you want, and again you can also tick them off as complete here. And then I've also included a timeline view so that you can see sort of when all of your tasks are due in a cool format, and again included the tick box just to make it easy so that when you do standard task 2, say complete, by the time we go back here you should see that actually that's now moved to complete as well. So again, does what it says on the tin, a task list, a to-do list, but a few more bells and whistles just to sort of hopefully make it easy to track your tasks and obviously mark them off once you're complete as well. And then hopefully over time this little number of 2 is going to go up to 1000 as I or you start ticking off all of your tasks. Okie doke. So the last section here then under myself, well-being, and this is something I really included in the last few weeks up to releasing this template, as it's something that I myself started getting into the more that I worked on my routine and I started to feel a bit better and I started to develop my habits. I was in my head a bit with my ideas, that's why I created this template, as well as how I was feeling as a person. And so I started doing a bit of digging into how I can also, reflect on myself as a person and better myself as an individual as well. And so again, this might not be stuff that appeals to everybody, but I've included it in case it does, because I know it's something that I will definitely be using and working upon uh, as part of my sort of personal growth. So I figured good to include here, as again, it's all about making those first steps to working on your ideas and yourself as a person. So you can see here the first one is journal, which is probably the one that again does what it says on the tin more than the others. But basically, a journal is a journal. The reason behind journaling is to reflect on maybe a day, an experience, whether that's I went and I did this today, maybe you had a date night, or it was a day at work, or maybe you just want to reflect on the day as a whole. Maybe you realised that, hey, I was very stressed today and I want to do a bit of venting. So I've broken it down into a few categories: relationship entry, daily reflection, special occasion, gratitude, and work. And then you can see all of your entries here. Otherwise, you can see, lists of a specific entry in case maybe you're just sitting down one day and you want to do a bit of reflection on past entries. Each one has been sort of tailored to sort of specific entries. This is just about what's happening, how are you feeling in terms of relationships, and a bit of a spiel as to how you might fill that in. Of course, this is a journal, so spill your own beans how you want to, and even create your own entries, because there might be some missing here that would be beneficial to you. Daily reflection is obviously quite a common one, and if you come in here, there's a few categories for, how are you feeling? You can tick all these boxes if you want. What's your intentions, achievements? What are you grateful for? If there's anything else on your mind, how was work today? Again, broken down into different ones. So I've put a fair bit of work in here, and leverage journals that I've used in the past and stuff like that to sort of build each of these out. These are obviously default templates, and if you want to create a new entry, you can come here to new and sort of pick whichever one you want to do. So if I do special occasion, boom, there you go, there's another special occasion. And of course, it's tagged as such. You can give it a specific title if you want. So yeah, journaling, nice and easy. But if it is not something that you've done before and you've thought about doing, I do strongly suggest that you give it a go. It can help massively. Alright, so the next two, affirmations and personal values. So I do want to be clear here in that I am not a therapist or a qualified therapist, as I have, as you'll see here in affirmations, put a lot of spiel in here about, affirmations in general. What are they? Why you should use them, how you can use them, and even some example affirmations you can use. So this is something that I've been into lately, and I put this in here after doing a lot of reading myself on affirmations and values. And so again, I'm not claiming to be an expert. It's all based on what I've learned and what I've read recently. So again, please do your own research on it. Affirmations, however, can be very, very, very helpful in life, especially if you're feeling a bit down on yourself. Maybe you're trying to build a new routine, work on your habits. Well, what's really stopping you? Is it something specifically in terms of the way you are as a person? Well, do you know what? Maybe it's time to look yourself in the damn mirror and say, I got this shit. And that's really what affirmations are about at a very high level explanation. So yeah, there's a bit of detail here on affirmations, what they are, and then also some example affirmations if you're really struggling on what sort of stuff you can use as an affirmation. Again, I'd recommend you do research and come up with your own so that they really suit you as a person. And then I have also put an AI generator as well. So obviously you can tailor this to your specific needs. What do I want to work on as a person? And you can ask AI if you're really, really struggling to come up with your own affirmations, and it'll give you a list of some that you can maybe use. So the very last thing then is personal values. And again, much like affirmations, it's stuff that I've been doing a lot of research and reading on. And I do think reflecting on yourself and trying to establish who you are as a person and where you want to be, by the time your life comes to an end, to establish what your values are in life. Because I think if you're a value-driven person, you're always staying true to yourself. And that doesn't mean values can't change in life, but it's really worthwhile reflecting on who you really want to be as a person, because a lot of us, myself included, get we lose track sometimes on who we are as a person. You know, sometimes you get stressed and you act a little bit out of a character and stuff like that, or you don't spend time reflecting on why you responded to stress in a specific way. So again, not claiming to be a therapist, please do your own research and your own reading, but I did think this would be beneficial to at least consider for people if they haven't already. It's something that I'm very big on myself now, and so again, a bit of an explanation on personal values. What are they? Why do they matter? How do you find yours? And then obviously there's a section here for what your values are. And I guess the intention here is that do a bit of reflection. You know, this isn't something you'll do in 5 minutes, it's something you'll do weeks, months, or throughout your life. But get them listed here, and then, you know, at any given moment, if you're feeling a bit down or a bit, you know, off the track, you can come here and just say, do you know what? This is who I am as a person. I spent time thinking about who I am to come up with these values, and these are really how I want to live my life. So come in here, reflect on your values. That's really what this is about. All right. So I've rambled now for probably close to an hour. I think I've touched upon what this template is, who it's for, how to use it. I hope it all makes sense. If it doesn't, this video will be listed on my own YouTube, Lucas Lewis, or the 8% Club YouTube. And so please, if anything doesn't make sense or you're confused, please feel free to reach out from either of those sources. Otherwise, if you've got this template from Notion, there should be a contact button on it. Feel free to reach out, ask me questions, or even give me feedback on the template and how you found it so far. The very last thing that I wanted to touch upon and that I've put in here is motivation music. I've simply embedded a playlist that I like listening to when I'm working on ideas and drafting up my to-do list. I strongly recommend that you include your own playlist, or, you know, change this to, I don't know, motivation podcast, and embed your favorite podcast YouTube channel or whatever else that inspires you or keeps you going when you're making ideas and working on yourself. Yeah, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for watching this. And of course, if you have taken the Notion template out and you intend to use it, thank you so much. I'm always here if you've got any questions or ideas of your own, or, as I say, feedback. So thanks again for that, and I hope you do great with your ideas and working on yourself. I'm sure you'll smash it.